So I've been getting this comment a lot on threads where people were like, I would listen to what you're about to talk about. And so I decided to come up with a new segment on my podcast for when I don't have guests on. And honestly, I talk about how brilliant everybody else is, but I underestimate myself and underestimate the things that I'm interested in. So why would I also not be brilliant if I know a bunch of brilliant people? I also have to interview them. So to some extent, there's a little bit of a crossover. Anyways, this new segment is called
What you thinking about, Dee?
and essentially this is me talking about things that either I felt passionately about during the week, topics that keep coming up, etc. So this is the first episode and it's inspired by me posting a thread and commenting on this thread where it says you've been kidnapped and 25 minutes later the kidnappers drop you off. What were you talking about to them for 25 minutes? And I said, easy. I just held my dad hostage for no less than 2 hours today, talking about good management techniques, setting boundaries as a worker, the AI bubble popping, speaking in LinkedIn, and this thing that we're calling Angel Investor Gate. And so if it's a stranger, I have plenty of topics locked and loaded, which I do have a ton of topics. But instead of me just rambling and ranting about just stream of consciousness stuff, I decided to write things down because the one thing that I don't like is just hearing people just talk and talk and talk and talk, and we have no real train, and we're not making connections, stuff like that. I don't enjoy those type of podcasts, and it makes me want to take people's podcast mics away. So I'm going to try and group these things in a way that flows so that you can see what my brain was thinking about because these are all connected. They're all kind of under that thing of business and doing business well. I do have a lot of business skill. I have been in sales. I was a manager for 5 years. I was a sales manager for 2 of those years. I watch the market a lot. One of my special interests is tech and how tech is expanding and how tech sometimes is unethical. And also, I love scams. I love researching scams. Right now, if Netflix were to pull like ratings and they were to pull stats, I am the number one watcher of that Firefest documentary because I cannot believe how this man he had everything lined up and all he had to not do was mention Pablo Escobar and he could have possibly pulled off a whole festival and he raised tens of millions of dollars and he blew it because he was arrogant and did not listen to people around him. I also watched the documentary about Theranos. I watched the documentary about WeWork. Me and my dad's special interest for a little while was the documentary about OceanGate because all of those things are, I hate to say it, white people saying that they're smart, people believing that those people are smart, and then just blindly investing money. And I feel like AI is similar to that. Like OpenAI, I feel like people are like, this is revolutionary. This is going to be the new thing. And again, this is where all this stuff comes from because there was a lot of news about AI recently and OpenAI and Sam Altman. And you know what? Maybe I'll start with that. Disclaimer to my listeners. I have a traumatic brain injury. And for me, sometimes I go into what I call thought loops. That sounds like me repeating a phrase a couple of times to make sure that I have covered or I'm getting back on track to the main ideas. This does not happen for like 10 minutes, and if it happens too much, I will just cut out a part. It'll only be maybe once or twice that I repeat the phrase. After that, I'm back on target and I'm good to go. Thank you for listening. I hope that this doesn't affect your listening experience, but I appreciate your patience. So I have a long list of Arch-Nemesis. I know that not a lot of people invest in their Arch-Nemesis and making a list of them, but I personally do because it allows me to every now and then focus my energy and focus a little bit of hate on people that I don't think need to succeed and people who I feel like are harming and are just they're just bad people. So one of those people on that list is Tyler Perry. He is forever. He has been an op for me since 2006. And Sam Altman and all of the AI tech bros that, they're all on LinkedIn and they're like, AI is the future. If you don't get with it, then you're just, those people, all of my ops. And any person who owns an AI company is automatically an op. So understand Sam Altman owns one of the largest AI companies in the world. He is at the top of my list. Again, Tyler Perry is probably more of a personal beef and more of a cultural thing. Sam Altman and OpenAI are a global beef that I have. Just global. You're ruining the planet. You're ruining people. Like, it's just that. I watch Cold Fusion and CoffeeZilla, and Cold Fusion just posted a video about OpenAI and how Sam Altman had to start running ads on OpenAI. Now, this means absolutely nothing to you because you are not following the downfall of AI as much as me. And I am very invested in the AI bubble that is about to bursting. So, Sam Altman, I think it was February 19th. I think he announced it in January, but he started doing ads this month on OpenAI. Previously, in years past, when he was very optimistic about AI in the future, he said that he would not run ads on OpenAI platforms like ChatGPT unless it was absolutely necessary to keep the lights on. So either the lights are getting dim at OpenAI, or he is just trying to maximize enough profit to keep it Like, he's trying to maximize the amount of profit, and he does not care about the user experience, which wouldn't be unusual for business. A lot of businesses are like, how can I make the most money? And also, I don't care if people are angry with me. That's honestly just most businesses with AI. So now going back, I have been hearing about Sam Altman jet setting the world. He's going to China, he's going to Japan, he's everywhere funding for OpenAI and what he feels like would be sustainable amount of money for OpenAI to continue for the next 4 years. His target is 600 billion with a B as in Bravo, dollars, okay? Currently, he received a lump sum of $100 billion, and I cannot find out where that is because the news is just full of the fact that he recently raised $110 billion. And just like when I watch Firefest, I'm like, how are you guys just giving these men who are barely qualified, just qualified by the seat of their pants, all this money? Yes, Sam Altman was in tech. Yes, Sam Altman can talk a good talk about tech, but I do not think that Sam Altman is a good business owner. I think that people just give Sam Altman a bunch of money. Those are two different things, and we'll talk about what a good business owner is and how to have a sustainable business once we get close to good managing techniques. But the $110 billion he raised recently was $50 billion from Amazon, $30 billion from Nvidia, and $30 billion from SoftBank. And I actually was talking to my dad about Amazon, and I said, the issue with AI is that, and this is going big picture, the issue with AI is that AI has some very valid uses. There's an AI captions thing that is like now embedded in my video editor, and it is perfect because I do not want to personally sit there and caption every scene in a 45 to 1 hour long video. That's how long my content typically is. I don't want to do that. So that's totally fine for there to be an AI function for that. If there was an ethical use of AI, that would be it. There are some other uses that I can't think of because I'm pretty anti-AI. If this was not, again, embedded in the video software that I paid a lot of money for, I would never use it. But alas, AI has some really good functions that if they had focused on those functions in the beginning, OpenAI and other AI businesses would have still been very profitable. However, and this is a quote that I think is a banger, AI business owners decided to prescribe AI as a solution to everyday problems, and they use it like a broad spectrum antibiotic. However, they were not predicting that there would be resistance. People have said many times they do not like AI customer service bots. People will literally just yell, assist, human being, I want to talk to a human. I need assistance. Send me to an agent over and over and over again to bypass AI bots. They hate it. The 50 billion from Amazon is so that I can sit there for 15 minutes and talk in a circle with a bot that is not taking me in the right direction. Instead of, like, I hate to say it, people used to get mad because businesses were outsourcing customer service to places like India. But nowadays, people would rather talk to Najit, the agent that I talked to recently, who finally was able to fix the problem that me and my sister were having. There was a package that we could not accept because once you accepted the package, you couldn't make a return. It was out for it wasn't out for delivery. It was being delivered the next day. The AI bot was like, "Well, we can't cancel the order because it's already en route." And we're like, "It's not en route." And they were like, "Well, we can't cancel it. You'll have to accept it and then return it." And we're like, "We can't return it." And it was a loop for 15 minutes straight until we literally just typed agent over and over and over again. And then eventually we made it to Najit. And shout out to you, Najit, because he was able to stop the delivery. Everybody hates that experience. It is across the board unanimous. Nobody's like, you know what, I really enjoyed talking to that AI bot for 10 minutes. They don't. And then, similar to other customer service functions, people do not want to interact with anything less than a person. For your insurance, you don't want to talk to an AI agent before you talk to your regular agent. There's very few uses where people do not want to talk to a person with their problem. So customer service is out. When it comes to art, the only people who are making art and are accepting art are people who don't look at art. And people who don't look at art are not the main consumers of art. The people who would very easily suss out if something is an AI portrait are not the main consumers of art. Yeah, sure, you'll be able to get some authors who don't have enough money to pay for a cover artist, but also, please, if you are an author and you're looking for a cover artist, go on Fiverr. Just go on Fiverr because you will be able to find artists who can help you out in your price point. I literally have I bought a book and I realized it was AI because in the middle of the book, the guy was giving a dog a donut and then the donut changed flavors. That's what happens when you use AI to illustrate your books. The AI does not have a continuity memory. There's a limited amount of memory. My dad is having issues with Microsoft Copilot because Microsoft Copilot, once it cuts off your conversation, it completely forgets that you had a conversation. So unless you have an advanced build AI model where you are like, people have those things like that My Strange Addiction, where the lady has an AI partner and she took the whole AI bot off of the original platform, and girl, that's too much. But if you are an average user of AI and you are in the chat GPT queue and you are waiting to generate something, as soon as you're done with that generation, it will forget what you generated. I was working with an activist group, and that activist group used AI to generate their posters. I'm sorry, you cannot be for the revolution and using AI. But what would happen is the person would generate the posters. And then if there was a mistake, she would have to regenerate the posters all over again. And what would happen is the posters look a little bit different every single time. One day, her chat GPTQ was not generating the poster and she needed the poster ASAP. So she asked me, because I'm a graphic designer, and you know what I was able to do? Remove the background from the logo so that way she could use the logo again for other posters. I was able to remove the background for all the logos that she provided me. And this took me maybe an hour to complete the whole poster as she requested it. So the actual usability long term for people to continuously generate AI things is not good. And people use it because they feel like there's not necessarily a better solution. But I promise if you look, there are better solutions than you regenerating a poster every single time. Again, it took me an hour to do the poster, and I was able to make changes within a few minutes, and I could still make changes. If they emailed me right now, I could fix their poster again and change the date and all that kind of stuff because I'm a person. Back to the business part of this, like user experience. A lot of businesses do not care about user experience at all. But just to the practicality of it, again, people who like art, who are most likely to buy more art, do not want AI slop. They do not want to sit there and realize that hand actually has 8 fingers on it. Or, wait a second, that tree is way too smooth. People who like art look at details and they can tell. So if you are in art and you are generating art, it is not a good thing for you long term. It'll make you money real quick, as all AI does, but it will not make you money long term. Going into music, they have tested. Suno is a big, huge music company, and it just got valued for $2.45 billion. That is what it is. But it has 2 million users. So the 2 million users are making up most of their funding that they have every single month. Now, I'm not sure why you are using Suno to create music. I promise you, in the amount of time it takes you to prompt Suno to create a song for you, you could have actually learned how to play a song. Because you have to keep prompting Suno to make the same, like you have to prompt it to try and get the same voice. Every time I've heard an AI singer, when I look through their catalog, their voice is different in like every third song because they're not able to generate the song with the same exact voice over and over and over again. So people are spending money trying to hit a lick on Spotify with songs that they may or may not have written, which goes into a whole different thing of like, why are you doing this if you don't know how to do it and you don't really want to do it? It's quick money, but is it sustainable money? No. That being said, there are 2 million average day to day users who are putting AI slop into music. But Suno had 3 major projects that they tested the market on. And those 3 projects have not gone well. And Suno has currently $2.45 billion, but over time, we're going to see it losing money. Now, the 3 projects that it had were I'm Oliver. I'm Oliver was a person is I'm Oliver is a person, and he generated essentially like a generic white girl, like Tumblr music kind of vibe. That project flopped so hard. That video, currently the video has like 45 views, and I promise 3 of them are me watching the video because I made a TikTok about it. So the project flopped. Nobody even knows that that was Suno's first project, but that was the first artist that they signed. Then there is Tata. Everybody will know Tata because Timbaland, sorry. Oh my God. Sorry to Twista. Timbaland is the one who generated Tata. Well, the issue with Timbaland is that everybody hated it. And what you'll see is that with I'm Oliver, they tested it out with white people and white girls who kind of like Taylor Swift, because that's a huge market. But they're really trying to test it for Black people because Black people, we consume a ton of music and we consume a ton of media. And if you can sell it to Black people, you will be able to make money. We buy stuff. When we support stuff, we buy it. So they thought, let's try it with Timbaland and have him create an artist. But immediately everybody hated it. And they hated it so much, they're like, you know what, Timbaland, this is actually, you are ruining your legacy by being associated with this hot mess. And Tata does not sound good. The few clips that I've heard of her, she sounds terrible. And she's also talking about experiences that she as a computer cannot have. So it is very hard to buy into it. So since Twista and Timbaland and Tata, oh my God, I am so sorry, Twista. Timbaland and Tata did not work out. They tried Jania Monet. Most of y'all have heard of Jania Monet. Jania Monet is the Black R&B singer who sounds like K. Michelle. Sounds exactly like K. Michelle in half of her songs, and then sounds like insert random Black singer that you stole her voice from. I would also like to say that with Tata, Tata sounded like other people that Timbaland had taken samples from because he was like, ooh, I'm trying to find new artists. And then he made Tata. So Timbaland also stole people's voice to create his artist. Jania Monet, every song that I've heard has sounded exactly like K. Michelle. And what they tried to do is they said, Talisha Nikki Jones is the person who generated Jania Monet. I looked at Talisha Nikki Jones's Facebook. before she blew up. And everything that I saw that she generated was not of the caliber of Janine Monáe. There is no way this woman made Janine Monáe. Just not at all. So I realized Suno is creating all these projects and they are paying people to market them. As Black people, we would more likely support a Black woman with a Black woman AI. We'll be like, you know what, girls in tech, that's what they thought we would do. That's what they thought we would do. They thought we'd be like, yes, Black women in tech, Black women in STEM, yes, but we did not. We did not. As what is that? What James Carville said, we did not hum and sway. We didn't. And we did not like Janine Monáe. And we called it out immediately that she sounds like a bunch of Black women. And this is bad for the Black community. She has a bunch of streams, but Suno is the one who is paying for those streams. It's not hard to bot streams. You can pay services to bot streams. But to get to the level that Janine Monáe got to, you got to pay a lot of money. And I said it a while ago. If we refuse to listen to these people, they will never get the payoff that they are expecting. Because the whole thing is you have to pay for streams. And then also, you don't make that much money on streams. If they bought a bunch of streams, they didn't make that much money. So how are they going to make money? By on Instagram, on TikTok, us interacting with other media that does generate money just for views. But we're not. We're not. Suno, besides the 2 million users who think that they can go insert random genre of music, besides those people paying for their subscriptions, Suno does not make that much money. Going into just like other artists, there are Reddit threads, multiple Reddit threads that are dedicated to identifying and us being able to block AI artists. Every time my dad, unfortunately, dad rock and, sad, depressed Black man, soul, Anthony Hamilton kind of music is very popular for AI. Same with gospel music, very popular for AI. So my dad keeps running into AI artists. But as soon as I search them, they automatically pop up on Reddit because people hate them that much. So going back to the analogy that they prescribed AI as a broad spectrum antibiotic, a solution to every single thing that you could come up with. And it's not that good. Even in hospitals, so the pit brought it up. But if you use AI on at your hospital for hospital records, you have to go back and fact check it. My dad works in business. Every time he tries to use AI misses stuff. He's like, it is missing records that I know exist, but I know they exist, so therefore I know that they're missing it. If you don't know that this record exists, you don't know it's missing. Even the Google AI overview that pops up, and somebody finally gave me a plugin so I could get rid of it. But if you read the AI overview, it is incorrect a lot of the times because it doesn't know how to actually interpret data. You will spend more time trying to go back and check your AI than you would if you just wrote that down yourself. Like if you just did the thing, if you just used a voice to chat, because I know a lot of hospitals use voice to chat features. If you voice to text, if you use those, you have more accuracy than when you use AI and let AI try to generate whatever the heck is going on. Same thing with business, and especially with numbers. It will manufacture and it will hallucinate figures. That's not good for finance. So even if you're in finance, you still have to go back and check your stuff. What is the point of checking it when you could just wrote it right the first time? For writing, I was helping my sister go through applications and personal statements. And when I read through the personal statements, you can immediately tell who used AI because I don't know if AI is like when certain applications are due, if they realize that a whole bunch of people are asking the same question at the same time, but they will structure the sentences exactly the same. So you will get a whole bunch of people whose sentences and paragraphs look almost exactly the same. And then for one person, because they didn't speak much English, which is that a downside because I know a lot of English as a second language speakers would like to use AI. But in the middle of what he was talking about, it started talking about teaching people under a lemon tree. Where is that coming from? It had very little to do with anything except for the fact that he says that he volunteers with different organizations and literacy And then they were like, he helps people read under the lemon tree. Girl, what? All of that to say, if AI companies had honed in on making AI for a certain group of people and just made it better and just focused on making a good product good, they would have hit billions of dollars in valuation naturally. But right now, they are balancing a very, very wavy, a very thin thread of if Suno loses users, it will not have $2.45 billion, just straight up. If people stop subscribing to Suno, they will not have $2.45 billion. If people stop using ChatGPT as much as they currently do, if we let just LinkedIn bros use it and regular people stopped using it, they would not have enough money to keep the lights on. Hence, them running ads. One of the interesting facts that I found out about this was that it Sora, the thing that makes those fake TikTok videos, which by the way, people love to make fake TikTok videos, but unless you are posting consistently, you will not be in the creator fund and you will not be able to get money. So having one video hit 1 million views does nothing. How do I know? I've had 3 videos hit 3 million views. It doesn't do anything. You have to be consistent with your views. So these people are generating stuff on Sora. They're generating, provocative things typically, and happens a lot where people are generating videos of either police brutality or black people acting terrible in public. There was a channel that literally was just generating like incidents with the police where it was like fat person eats a bunch of chicken and gets mad at police officer for taking food. Poor person has 16 kids and 28 tattoos and wants to know why they're getting pulled over for gun possession. Like stuff that would make people be like, it would feed into the most negative confirmation biases. And they got a lot of views, but they have to keep generating those videos to keep those views up to stay in the creator fund. And sometimes the content they're generating is not eligible for the creator fund. So that's just going back to the user experience and the actual profitability of people paying money for these things and how much are they actually getting back. But Sora, that crappy little app, loses $15 million a day. $15 million a day. If less people used it, then they would start hemorrhaging funds. Again, if regular everyday people stopped using ChatGPT and we left it to those LinkedIn bros who feel they must, like they can't write things, which I am so sorry, it actually takes you less time and will cost you less money over time if you just learned how to write these things yourself. I promise you it costs less money. But you know what, TLDR, AI did not go in for sustainable products. They went in for the most amount of money as soon as possible, which if you look at Firefest, if you look at Theranos, if you look at WeWork, all of these businesses were not made to be sustainable. They were made to make a lot of money immediately so those people could get rich and then they leave. And this goes into my good management techniques because I was talking to my dad about how businesses and even cities, like the city of San Antonio, has focused so much on expanding things that they're not paying attention to the fact that they could just make things good and people would enjoy San Antonio a lot more. People have this idea with business that if you are not expanding and you are not growing, you're dying. And the thing is that growth can come in multiple ways. Growth can come in you going into new markets and doing new things, or growth can go into making a great product and then also selling the maintenance of said product. People think that if you teach a man to fish, that he'll never need fishing lessons again. He'll never need a fishing line again. But that's not true. If you teach a man to fish and you are a good fishing teacher, that person will come back and ask you questions. They will need things from you. You just have to market those other things. When I worked at Office Max, and again, this is going into good management. When I worked at Office Max, I built long-lasting community relationships. The amount of old people who would bring in their computers or people who have kids that have downloaded virus. They would bring in their computers, and I wouldn't make that much money off of fixing their computer. Also, sometimes I wasn't charging people because some old people just download a virus and all I have to do is click it and then we're done. I'm not charging you $100 for something that took me 3 seconds to do. That doesn't feel ethical to me. But because I had such a good relationship with them, they would come back to the store to see me and also to check out whatever else we had going on in the store. Our store was next to a Best Buy, like directly next to a Best Buy. And Best Buy, they have all these technologies and all this kind of stuff, but people would come in because they weren't getting helped at the Best Buy and they would have all these questions. And I was doing consultations. I wasn't like, what computer do you want to buy? I was like, okay, so what are we looking for with the computer? What do you do? So who's going to be using it? What are you using it for? That type of thing. We're having a full consultation. And I actually taught all of my team that for people buying technology and for people buying furniture, we are not doing just like sales. We're not just selling stuff. We are consulting them to find actual solutions. So when people would come in and they would have questions about laptops and stuff like that, maybe I didn't have the laptop. Maybe Best Buy had the best laptop for them, and that's totally fine. Best Buy can have the best laptop for them. But in going into our consultation and in them realizing that I'm not just here to sell you a laptop, I actually care about if you get a good laptop. People would come back to the store and ask me questions about other things, and then they come in and buy other stuff. Oh, they couldn't get the laptop from me, but they would prefer to buy their printer from me than they would from Best Buy. Same thing, like if they found a laptop at Best Buy, I would tell them, I was like, hey, if you find it at Best Buy and it's a better price, come over here, I can price match it. That's what businesses need to think about. Yes, you can grow by going into a new market. At Office Max, I could have definitely expanded all these 50,000 services, but we were good at our print center. We were good at selling you and helping you out with your tech stuff, and we were great at furniture. Why am I going to sit there and try and offer, just random other services that other stores were offering? And it was like, they were like, let's do the pre-checks. And I was like, why are we doing TSA pre-checks? It doesn't even make any sense. Who is going into an Office Max like, man, I really wish I could free check in for my flight at an Office Max? And just being honest, in San Antonio, it doesn't make any sense because there is only one Office Max near the airport. All the other Office Maxes are like 30 minutes away from an airport. Girl, what are we doing TSA pre-checks for? By the time you get pre-checked, you could be un-TSA ready by the time you get to the airport. Anyways, that kind of wraps up my business section. AI could have expanded and grown by just focusing on a certain market, making it good, and doing maintenance on that stuff. With business, you can expand into new fields. You don't have to, though. You can just make a good product and provide great service to people that makes those people want to come back and see what you're doing, how you're doing it, how can they make this better. And you will still expand. You'll still make more money. You'll still make money. Now, I can't say that you'll make $110 billion with 50 billion from Amazon, 30 billion from Nvidia, and 30 billion from SoftBank. I cannot promise you that. But I can promise that you will have a loyal following of people who will consistently pay money. Going into management, I always, with my community, there was one guy, and this goes into relationships with your community a lot. Like, you need relationships with your community, is what I'm saying as a good manager. There was a guy every year during tax season, he would come in and he would spend $1,500. So if I was having a rough month, I knew that he was going to come in and all we had to do was print his stuff out correctly, which we did for 5 years straight. And we would make $1,500. I never had to sell him anything else. He would come in though, and he would buy a whole bunch of other stuff. So whenever he came in, I made $1,500 in the print section, and he likely spent $1,500 in the store. That's what good relationships and good business goes into, and good management. I was telling my dad mainly about how I treated employees, and this also goes with setting boundaries as a worker. Like, I never wanted my workers to see me coming and be annoyed. That's the last thing I wanted to do. I was a worker first, and we all have those managers where we're like, ugh, Beth is coming. She's about to ask me if I can stay late. And because I didn't want that relationship with my team, I would work really hard with number one, getting them to understand that they have ownership in the situation in the store as well. And also just being like, hey, you're a person, I'm a person. And this is something that my general manager taught me. She said, I cannot get another Diane. Now, this is something that your parents would say. My dad would always say, Diane, I can't get another Diane. I can get another car, I can get another this, but I can't get another Diane. My manager, Cindy, would say, I want you to take care of yourself at work because I cannot get another Diane. I can technically hire any worker that I want, but I hired you. And I hired you because you have a special set of skills that I need in this store. And I cannot get another Diane to be in the store. So if you are sick because you're not drinking enough water, if you're coming in sick and you stay out longer, if you mess up your back, if you're on your feet too long, stuff like that, I will lose the talents and skills that I needed for the Diane shifts. And that's something that more managers need to think about. Did you just hire a body, or did you hire this person because they have a unique combination of skills that you need for this? Now, some people are in fact hiring people as just bodies. I've heard managers say, I just need bodies on this. I just need arms and hands to be there for receiving. Yeah, I guess so, but that's not why I hired people. I hired people by actually looking at their resume, by actually reading their skills technique and trying to figure out like, hey, are they a vibe for our store? Number one. And also, like, are they going to be able to fill in the gaps? Will I be able to teach them to fill in the gaps? Stuff like that. For my workers, I never, again, I never want them to see me coming and being like, ugh. I want them to see me coming and understand that I was coming to check on them. And if I had to ask them to stay late, that I had already asked 50,000 other people, which I always did. And I always told people, I said, there are times where I'm going to ask you to stay late and you can't stay late. Do not think, oh, I have time today, so I'll stay late today. Is this going to actually fit in your schedule for you to stay the whole second shift? Because what happened to me is that I would accept shifts and then I wouldn't think like, oh crap, like I have to do something at 6 p.m. So taking the shift is da da da. I wouldn't think about that because my manager was asking me on the spot. I always tell people, I'm going to ask you, but I want you to take a second and let me know in about 15 minutes if you can stay or not. Again, managers are salespeople. Especially if you're in a retail space, managers are salespeople. So one of the things that you get taught in sales is high pressure sales. So if I come up to you and I'm like, hey, so and so called out, are you able to stay later? High pressure sales situation. Don't be high pressure. Don't answer to a high pressure sales. Give me 15 minutes and then give me an actual answer. This is also something that you teach at the register for quick change scams, because quick change scams are when people give you money and they want change and they rush you, and hence it being quick. And I would always tell my cashiers, as soon as somebody starts rushing you, you need to slow down. So rule applies with me. If I come up and I'm like, oh my God, you need to slow me down. Because here's the thing. I'm a manager. They are a worker. My job is to manage the store. If we have 50-11 things to do, it is my job to figure out how to do those 50-11 things. I was a very good manager because I used to be able to flex into any section because I started off in the print department, whereas a lot of managers could not go in print at all. So if the print person called out, there was nobody in print. And I really enjoyed that because people in print could see, like, if there was a huge rush, I could go hop over there, get on the register, I could go hop over there, take some orders, stuff like that. So I, again, really enjoyed that part of being a manager. But also, that goes back to my whole ethics. My whole major pillar of being a manager is I do not want people to see me coming and be annoyed. A lot of managers do not care about that. And that sucks for them, because if you treat your team right, your team will treat you right. There would be people being like, hey, Diane, I know that I said Thursdays, I can't really work, but if you do need somebody to cover the late shift on Thursday, I can come in for a few hours. That's the type of thing that happens when you are a good manager. People will volunteer to help you out. And in turn, I give them like as much as I can as a manager. Another thing that I would do is I would be realistic as a manager, and I would ask people like, hey, what is your goal outside of Office Max. Do you want to make Office Max your career? Or are you doing something outside of here that fills you with more joy, that is more of your goal? Why? Because I know that like 90% of people who work at an Office Max is not their final stop. They're not trying to be Mr. Office Max. They have other things they're doing. So for me as a manager, it also is more interesting for me to figure out what's going on with you. What do you want to do outside of here that is going to be your thing? So that way I can cater your training to actually helping you out. So there was a time like during COVID, I had somebody who was in medical. They were going in the medical field. They were going to be a nurse. And I said, this is a good time for you to be here because you are going to be in situations at your job that are going to be similar to what is happening behind the print counter. Now, you're probably like, Diane, what are you talking about? The print counter and nursing? And that's what she was also wondering as well. Well, during COVID, we were experiencing a very interesting time. And what was happening is that people were coming in droves, unfortunately, to do funeral programs and to do funeral signs, stuff like that. You deal with a lot of people's feelings and a lot of stuff that you'll have to deal with the negative side of nursing, which is sometimes people die. And I was like, this is how you can deal with it. Here's how you can, like, let's step away, stuff like that. I also provide a lot of mental health support for my team because my general manager, Cindy, shout out to Cindy. She did the same thing for me. She would sit there and let me know, like, here's a number for mental health if you ever need anything. And then I, in turn, gave it to my employees as well. So my shout out to Cindy. She was a great general manager and she taught me how to do everything. But being a great manager to your team does not equate to being a good manager amongst other managers. Other managers were super cutthroat. They were like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Why? There was a guy named Rod, and he would have to come in every day to take a picture of the schedule. Rod was an older guy and he had an older phone. He was also on a fixed income because he had disability. He was disabled. So he wasn't going to get a smartphone. And so we would print out the schedule so that Rod could see what the schedule was and what his schedule was. When we got new management in after Cindy she like retired from Office Max, they were so rude and they were like, no, you're not printing out the schedule anymore. We're not doing that anymore in the office and everybody needs to be digital. That's just like, why? It doesn't take me any longer to print out the schedule than it does to make the schedule itself. Also, it was very helpful because we were able to map out what the schedule would look like. So, like, it was good for us visually and it was great for him because he was able to just come in and take a picture. Again, I'm sorry if I say again a lot, but a lot of managers, cutthroat, nasty, don't really care as much about their people as we did. And Cindy did not have a lot of friends in the district. And then when I stepped up in management, especially when she stepped down and retired, I didn't have a lot of friends either. And people did not understand what we were doing and what the vibe was. People would say, this is not the Diane and Cindy store. This is Office Max. Who's the name outside? It's Office Max. And it's like, do you want us to have a good store? Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is the butter on top of the potato. We were making sales. We were making a lot of sales. Now, there were other things that we could have done better. I will say that by the time I was taking management and I was getting into my stride, other areas of the store may not have been doing as well, but we were building huge relationships to get bigger sales. And the more that I knew about selling in the store, the more sales we would make. The big issue was that they wouldn't inform us of certain things. And by the time I learned about certain things, other stores had had it for a minute. But my print department was number one in the district and I think top 5 in the region for sales. And they were like, well, other people are doing more sales. I was like, if we're number one in sales in our district, then you can't really say anything. Now, when it came to other departments, I was learning. But that's beside the point. The point is that by empowering my employees to remember that they are as much a part of the store as the store is a part of their lives, being realistic with them that they are not here for to make their whole life Office Max, Office Depot, and setting goals with them to help them in their actual lives, treating workers like they are human beings. I can't not emphasize that enough. And not just hands and not just bodies. That like that language where people are like, I need hands on this, I need bodies on the floor. I hate that. Building relationships in the community, because maybe I don't make a sale today, but I will make a sale. Heck, sometimes people just came to hang out and talk with me, and then they would just buy a soda. That's a soda that we wouldn't have sold if they hadn't to come in. And yeah, they could have bought a printer 3 weeks ago if I had been more aggressive, but now they're coming into the print department because they realize actually I don't want a printer. And then creating a good product, building the good relationship and having a good product, and then also marketing the maintenance of said product, offering alternatives as solutions for the products that we also sell. Perfect. We didn't have to expand into other things because we were making sales regularly. Anytime I was on the clock, we were making sales because people wanted to come in during Diane's shift and people wanted to come in when Cindy was there. But when we got those new managers, let me tell you, they killed that store. And that's not even me exaggerating. The store is actually shut down. The store is gone. They came in, they were like, no, we need to do this, this, and the other. They had this idea that the manager needed to stay at the register or be at the front so that they could greet people. And they made the manager like a stationary being. So they would have like, we had a tech bench that was moved from the print area to the middle of the store, which, okay, fine, that's great. But the manager, our new general manager, would stand in the middle of the store and just watch people come in and greet them. When I was manager, I would say, hey, the cashier needs to stay at the cash register. I am the manager. I can work in any section of the store, so I'm going to be on the floor. If we have an additional person on the floor, great. If we don't, that's me. And then we have the print department. If you're in print and you see somebody walk in, you need to greet them. If somebody walks up to print, you need to greet them. The cashier, I said, it is good for you. You have to greet every single person who comes in, because if I'm in the back of the store, I need to know that somebody came in the store. It's a good way for me to, we called it zoning. It's a good way for me to zone people. And then the cashier is also aware of people coming in and out. It's like a security practice, but also a way for people to feel welcome. New management came in and they said, absolutely not. I want the manager to stand at the front of the store and they can greet everybody. And it was terrible. Once that vibe changed, people stopped coming in the store. Once the new management came in, people stopped coming in that store so bad. And then whenever I went in the store, it was a hot mess. One time, like I had completely quit the store. I was moved on, and I think I had to pick up something for like an art show that me and my sister were doing. Well, I went in to pick up my prints. And it was so bad. They had like one person in print. There was a manager who was also in print. And then one of the employees that I had hired was trying to help on the floor, even though he was a print person. And it was a long and the short. I had to get on the cash register because the girl that they had she'd just been hired. And they left her on the cash register alone. And she was having a mental breakdown. So I ended up having to scan people out. It was crazy. And I was like, where's the manager? And the manager was watching all this happen. Girl, I hope you got the gist of good management of, like, again, investing in your people, treating people like people, investing in your community, treating the community like and making lasting relationships. You don't have to make the sales today. You have to build the relationship today because you will make sales later on. And that's the gist of that. Now, going into speaking LinkedIn, a lot of people, when you come from retail sales, people think that you don't know how to talk sales. But again, as I told you with the AI section, I love watching CoffeeZilla and Cold Fusion, and I love watching finance stuff. So I know all the fancy terms. I know about our UX and our click-through rate, blah, 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 blah. I got you. I got you. I also used to be into social media marketing and stuff like that. Way back in the way back. I have lived many lives despite being only 32. So speaking LinkedIn is one of those fun party tricks that I bring out whenever somebody says something that doesn't make any sense. When I used to argue with AI bros on the internet, they love hearing sales jargon. People do not like when you speak to them in sales jargon if they don't think you can. If they thought that you were just like low education, working class, and then you start busting out with some boom, 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 they hate that. Now, Angel Investor Gate was a very interesting situation that happened, and it was something that was small that turned into something big because this lady was not taking it very well. So there's this lady, her name is Bernadette. So like Berna and then debt, like student debt joy. That's her screen name. And she posted about being an angel investor, hence the name of this being Angel Investor Gate. She said that she was an angel investor and that if people wanted to learn how to pitch their books and pitch their projects better, they should sign up for her mailing list. Well, a number of people, including this person named Kimmy, she pointed out that there was no link to a mailing list. And instead of Bernadette or Bernadette Joy, looking to see what people were talking about, she was so incredibly nasty in the comments and was like, it's right there. I only have one link in my bio. And she was very adamant about this. So what I saw was Kimmy's post at the end of everything, where Kimmy was like, there's a lady on here, and she said that there was only one link in her bio. I go, there's three of them, and she keeps insisting that she has one link in her bio, and I can see that there are three, and she called me lazy and said I couldn't follow directions. That's a lot. That's a lot. So I go look and see where Kimmy, I go in the replies and I'm like, where has Kimmy been talking to? Like, who has she been talking to? Because I want to see the tea. I want to sip the tea as well. So I go look and somebody luckily had done a screenshot of the person who was talking. I go over to Bernadette's page and see the original post. She mentions a mailing list. I'm like, okay. I go in the comments of that post and she is going back and forth with other people. So it's not even just Kimmy. Multiple people have brought up to her in real time, hey, what link is it supposed to be? Hey, which link is it? And she's very adamant that there's only one link in her bio. Now I can clearly see her bio, and her bio shows three links. It says like a link plus two. That means that you have three links on Threads. I go click on the links. There is no link that says mailing list. There's one that says get good with money. And then there's like a link to her book. And there's like a link to her podcast, I think. None of those are mailing lists. So I go look because she said, you guys can't even follow directions. Here, by the way, the original post that she made was like, I received thousands of comments and people aren't even serious. So if you're serious, sign up for my mailing list. So we're already being kind of nasty to the people who were in her comments on Instagram. And now we're being like, the attitude is not good. So now people are bringing up like, hey, what link are you talking about? And she's like, you guys are so lazy. You guys are so this in the comments. So eventually, she posts the actual link to the mailing list. I go look at the link for the mailing list. And it's the first link that she has that says get good with money. That is not the same as a mailing list. So I go click on it, and even the actual landing page that you end up on does not give mailing lists. Like there's a thing for a seminar. That doesn't sound like a mailing list. And then at the bottom of the page, it says mailing list. So I realize that Bernadette Joy did not have her link labeled correctly. Now on Threads, it is actually very convenient. I think it also happens on Instagram. If you put a link in your bio and you have multiple links, you can label the links with what you want them to say. So if I wanted to, like for my class, I put misinformation class. By the way, I'm doing a misinformation class on April 12th with the collective. There will be a link in my bio for this. So you will be able to navigate to the class page. Again, if you want to hear me talk about misinformation for like an hour. So I in my bio, it says classes. And it also says I actually went into my website and said, you know what? I need a site navigation page. So that way people know, like there's a little tiny section where you can sit there and figure out where you want to go on my page, because the website builder that I use doesn't have like a way to make a specific menu for it. So, hey, here's the links that you want to go to get to where you need to go. Long and the short. So I have my site navigation as a link. And then I have my podcast page as a link. These are things to help people be able to follow and get to where I need them to go. And guess what they're labeled? Class, site navigation / homepage, and podcast. Very easy. So I make a little click through video of how Bernadette's thing does not have that. And then I also do a little screen recording of how easy it is to change the heading on the link. I tag Bernadette and she comes on the thread and she thinks that she's like, thank you so much for making this thread. It's so nice. Da, da, da. And I was like, ooh, she thinks this is a pro Bernadette thing. I'm actually pointing out how she could have just done this correctly and checked into what people were saying, but she chose not to. So I comment and I let her know, like, hey, this is not a pro you post. I'm actually pointing out, again, she used the term lazy for people who were trying to figure out where they're supposed to go. And I said, I was pointing out how you were not in the right to be so rude and snarky to people because you mislabeled something. Users are trying to figure out how to get to your sign up and you didn't label anything correctly. And she got annoyed. And I said she got annoyed because I started using LinkedIn language like UX. UX is short for user experience. And I said, your user experience wasn't good. And as soon as you got a complaint from somebody, and then multiple people had that complaint, you should have looked into it. I would look into it after the first one and see if there's something that I'm not communicating correctly. But hey, maybe people need 2, 3 different people to navigate. She did not like that I said her UX was garbage. And I said also that I've dealt with business people like her before, where they think that just because they have money, they're a gift to all of us. And that's not true. That's not true at all. Just because you have some money, people can find other people to invest money in them. You are not the only source of money in the world. You're not Jeff Bezos. And even if you're Jeff Bezos, you can find a different billionaire. Apparently there's a lot of them because they keep investing in AI and also terrible projects like OceanGate. You just got to look for them. So after I commented, talked about ClickFunnels and click-through rates, because she said, well, I got 200 people to sign up for the thing. She went from thousands of people looking and commenting on her post, wanting to pitch them, to on a different platform. She says she only got 200 people signing up. Well, when I look at Kimmy's original thread, there were hundreds of comments. I think it was like 150 comments of people who could not find her link and couldn't figure things out. Then on my post, there were people who said, ooh, I saw that post and I'm not going to work with her. So there were even more people that decided not to. So if you only got, like, I think we both have a following of 12.2K. That's like, hold on, let me run the percentage. Okay, I didn't want to speak and not have it correct. That is 2%. 2% of people who originally solicited you made it to sign up. And again, that is their 2% of her followers, my bad, actually made it to the sign up. Now, that's not even people who are actually going to go to her class or actually going to do anything with what she's doing. These are just people who signed up for the mailing list. And once they realize that the mailing list is just them going to have to sign up for a seminar or a webinar, there's going to be even less people. So right now, she's probably looking at, like, from this whole situation, maybe 0.5% of people actually interacting with her content and actually signing up for things that will then make her money. That's not good. That's not good numbers, queen. And she got super mad that we were talking about her numbers and talking about logistics. And again, I learned how to speak these words because it would make, when I actually tried to be general manager of my store. And for some reason, and I genuinely think that this is just because that district manager was sexist and didn't think I was going to do it. But my general manager coached me through how to do this. I had to come up with a 30-60-90 for the store. None of the other general manager candidates had to do a 30-60-90, mind you, but I did a 30-60-90 and I sent it to the department sales. I sent it to the district manager, all that kind of stuff. So I had to use a whole bunch of sales jargon to make sure they knew that I knew what I was talking about. And since then, I can speak LinkedIn with everybody. We can talk about synergistically aligning with the client goals, it's slipping. The client's mission. We can sub in things. It doesn't matter. I can type an email with the best of them. People hate when you do that with them when they think that they have the upper hand sales wise. And she was super mad and she started crashing out and she was all over thread saying, this was a test. This was a test for me to weed people out. And I'm like, girl, if you are weeding out to, again, half a percentage of people who are looking at you, that is not good. That's no bueno, queen. And she was like, this is a test. This was intentional after everybody called out how illogical she was being. And that's not a test. You're not testing anybody. You're just mad. Your feelings are hurt. And it's okay to have your feelings hurt. And I think again that she was mad that we weren't like, you're the best thing since sliced bread. You're an angel investor, allegedly. We don't know what projects you've invested in. She's just saying that. Like, she could have invested in 0 people. She could be making this whole thing up. I don't believe what people immediately put in on their threads and Instagram. People regularly make up and reinvent themselves on social media. There's a guy, his name is Yada, and he was a terrible human being in the early 2010s. And he has reinvented himself as some sort of sales guru, holistic, whatever. He pays his wife $50,000 a month, and then like $10,000 bonus per kid. But that man used to be sitting in his kitchen talking about how periods weren't real. So he also says that he got a bunch of degrees. And if you look at his degrees in his picture, number one, they're from a university that doesn't, like, that's not a real university. It's a for-profit university. And that's like, it's for profit in like a random country in Africa. And I genuinely think that it's like a leadership school. That doesn't count. That's not real. And he got his doctorate in nursology. Is like such a weird, anyways, that's beside the point. We can talk about Yada another day. But if you go on his profile, he'll say that he has he has a doctorate and 2 masters, and that he sells holistic things. And then if you knew his past and you looked at it, you would know that he's not telling the truth by a long shot. And that most of his stuff is just resell holistic fake things that you can buy off of Temu. No joke, off of Temu. You would also find that the wife that he says that he treats well, which is apparently one of 2 wives, and we've never seen the second wife, he used to be abusive to her, and he's been abusive to every other wife since. So yeah, he's on there saying like, I pay her $50,000 a month. Is he? We've never seen it. She asked for a card and a video, and he gives it to her, and that's it. But the video has a fake phone call in it. Child, it's a mess. So why should we believe that she's actually an angel investor? This whole thing could be fake. She's telling us it's real, but is it? That's what I want to know. But I don't actually want to know. Anyways, Angel Investor Gate ending. She says that she's found a lot of material for her comedy show and for her class. So I'll be looking out for Bernadette Joy's comedy show, in which I'm featured. And I swear, Bernadette, if this is not a funny comedy show and you have wasted this material the way you've wasted everybody's time, I will be mad. I will boo in the comments that you did not talk about me and we're not actually funny. Now, if she's funny, I'll laugh along. But if you're not funny, girl. Anyways, that's been what I've been thinking about. And I'm surprised that you all want to listen. So thank you all for being here. This is probably going to be the more common episode on the It's Really That Serious podcast, because I can't interview people every single day, but I do always have a lot of thoughts. So thank you for listening to this first episode. The next episode I will be doing is going to be about people who are not doing things passionately, and I will get into it. But thank you for listening to the first episode, and go back and listen to my episode that was an interview with Savant Moore, because I really appreciate him talking. And also, it is still voting in the state of Texas is on Tuesday, March 3rd. Get out there and go exercise your constitutional right and do your civic duty. Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.